Slafkovsky and Reinbacher had shockingly good performances in the Habs preseason opener, with Reinbacher especially showing insane maturity and showing why he was the 5th overall pick. We'll be diving into that, plus just a general game recap and some standouts like Joshua Roy, Alex Newhook, and Logan Mailloux for better or for worse. So you want to stick around for all of that on this edition of Habs Digest. Jesse, as we dive into the first topic, a quick reminder to you guys, if you enjoy these videos, these daily videos as we get back into the NHL season, hit the subscribe button. Daily content here at Habs Digest. You won't regret it, I promise. Jesse, Roy and Newhook really, to me, were the guys who showed out the most in this first game. And I'm just going to flare up a graphic here. This is just from Hockey Stat Cards, Natural Stat Trick, Dom Lucian, just showing kind of the impact scores from yesterday's game. And honestly, they match the eye test pretty well. You can see Josh Anderson, Joshua Roy, Alex Newhook leading the way. And we got Mailloux, we got Slafkovsky and Reinbacher, who we'll talk about a bit later, with some maybe underwhelming games from Xhekaj. Barrett, I think, was better than this shows. But all in all, Jesse, I think the standouts here for me, again, were Mailloux, Roy, and Newhook. And they really, really proved that, I mean, look, especially Roy, man. Like, I get people just saying, I know you've been singing his praises for so long, but Joshua Roy is just showing day in and day out, like, I'm keeping producing. Like, when are you going to give me the shot, you know?
Yeah, and that's why I think Joshua Roy is going to make this team out of camp, wow, for sure.
Bold.
And it'd be a crime if he doesn't, because I think the Habs have been giving him every opportunity to be able to make this team. Not just him, but all of their young guys. They're giving them prime slots. They're saying, here's the opportunity. Are you going to take it? And I don't think any other young player on the Habs who's a prospect has seized this opportunity more than Joshua Roy. As we saw with those stats, providing a solid defensive game, but then as we saw in that first goal last night, providing a very quick release shot, and that's something we need more of on this team. We need more shooters. So I really feel because he fits this need, because he's just been showing up, basically since day one, I feel like he would be a very, very solid addition this year.
Yeah, I mean, Joshua Roy, you look, oh, by the way, shout out to Xavier Simoneau for that sick pass to Joshua Roy. He's been looking really good too. But Joshua Roy, again, like we say, skating's maybe not at the NHL level, but like, again, it's just like, how much more does he need to prove? At every level, he's able to produce, whether it's at the World Juniors playing alongside Connor Bedard, whether it's here in Habs training camp scoring a goal in his training camp opener or as a preseason opener, playing incredibly in the scrimmages, showing lots of chemistry with everyone he's playing with, being second on the team to only to Josh Anderson in the impact metrics. It's like, you'd think like, oh, no, I mean, he got to keep showing this, right? But he's been doing it for years. It's really crazy, and I completely agree. He's been showing out very well. But yeah, but as you can see, Marc Dumont in his article said he stood out as one of the best players in the scrimmages. He's 20. He found open ice in a high danger area. He knows allowed to do more than just produce points if he's to start with the Canadiens, but he had a high effort level, especially during the penalty kill, which is not even one of his strengths. But we'll transition because we had a lot to talk about in this video. Let's be honest, Jesse. Let's transition into Mailloux, the picture I accidentally flashed up there. He did not have a bad game, and I'm sure a lot of you guys saw the highlight of him chasing Jack Hughes in the offensive zone on the penalty kill, something you just don't see defenders do. He tried to dangle through the entire Devils team to get a goal on the PK, and then tired himself out by chasing Jack Hughes. Definitely a defensive blunder. However, he had a healthy 50% Corsi for, which means the Habs were about average with him on the ice. But all in all, Jesse, I thought his flashes of offense looked really, really good. The same issues with Mailloux, like his highs are the same highs that we have seen for him as a prospect, but his lows are the same lows. Some defensive lapses, some serious mistakes he's going to have to work on, but you can really see the potential is brewing there.
It's very true. And he's going to be the type of player where he's going to give for this team, but he's also going to take, and just being young, that's going to be part of it. He definitely had a big welcome to the NHL, in his own words last night. But, I think as his career progresses, this will be important to kind of take care of because, of course, if you're given a bunch of goals, you're scoring, but then you're also on the ice for a bunch as well. It's not always a net positive. So this is something he will need to figure out. It is important because that's a crowded blue line that we have for the Habs. But I believe he can figure it out. If he does, if he can kind of increase that offensive input while kind of diminishing some of the defensive blunders, which you would think logically with time would happen under good development, I think that he could really turn out to be obviously, a very important player for this team potentially.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those exciting players, and I don't want to make this comparison because I think they're extremely different players. However, like, this right-handed defensive, offensive guy, like there was occasional flashes of stuff we saw from PK Subban. Again, they're very different players. I'm not making that as a comparison, but just seeing the way Mailloux wants to work through the offense and pester the opponents, you saw that kind of spirit of PK Subban coming through a little bit. But yeah, it was really, really interesting. A very exciting player to watch for sure. And the last guy before we get into the interesting guys in Slaf and Reinbacher is whoops, again, I keep flashing the wrong pictures. My apologies. I don't have a picture for Alex Newhook. Let's just talk about Alex Newhook. I thought I did. But he, again, every single game, Jesse, he's been standing out. His speed. Right, him and Josh Anderson have a very, very clear chemistry. That is a duo that is certainly going to start the season together. Probably Newhook at center, Anderson on this wing. We're not sure about the other wing, whether it's going to be their current line mate Slafkovsky or someone else. But Newhook and Anderson have been really, really performing at a high level. And Newhook especially, he made a sweet pass cross ice to Reinbacher, who had a nice assist on Anderson's goal. We'll talk about that a bit later as well. But man, the chemistry is there, and I'm seeing a lot of praise for Newhook. Some people predicting 50-point seasons from him, Jesse. I think the hype train is about to leave the station.
And I like that they keep playing him at center.
Yeah.
And as Marty St. Louis said earlier, he was asked by a reporter, he said, are you trying to form like good duos right now? Is that what you're going for? Because it kind of looks like from training camp and kind of continuing into preseason. He says, well, you need to have good duos before you can have good trios. And I think that's logical. It's a good way to build your team. Obviously we see that with Suzuki and Caufield. Obviously Monahan and Slaf, I hope, can kind of form that. But then Dach and Newhook and then Anderson.
Yes.
Anderson and particularly has really, I think improved his play just because of Newhook kind of going to the front of the net. But one thing I really like from Newhook is just his passing ability is unreal. Of course, he has so much ability to kind of win those puck battles just with his tenacity. But at the same time, what I'm really liking from him is really just his ability, to just be that spark plug that we really need out there. I find that he's just really bringing out the best of everybody he plays with right now.
Sounds a lot like a recently retired Hab. Maybe he's taking a tip or two from old T-Paul on the sidelines there, because he certainly exudes a lot of that same energy, right? Those breakouts. And I think having someone as fast as him who likes to play at that pace alongside Anderson can only mean good things for the both of them. So yeah, a lot of awesome things to take out of this game. But it's time to dive into the guys we're all interested in, and that we're going to start with Juraj Slafkovsky. And boy, Jesse, I gotta say, the more time I spend on Twitter or X, the more I'm seeing a lot of people. Look, I understand it's not representative of the general Habs fandom. However, there's a lot of negativity about Juraj, but I think we're here to say that he has looked better and better every single night. If I flash this graphic up again, he was one of their top producing forwards last night behind only Ullinen, Newhook, Watt, and Anderson. I thought he looked a lot more confident on the ice. And the big thing, Jesse, he didn't look winded even once, even though he was playing with such a fast line with Newhook and Anderson. That cardio training certainly coming in handy. And he had a great quote because, of course, Jack Hughes had a great game, one of the top young stars in the NHL. But Juraj said that he's been following the NHL since a kid. He follows the first and second overall picks, and he says of Jack Hughes, he looks at him and thinks that, Jack Hughes didn't like his first season. Don't forget, Jack Hughes was listed as a bust by a lot of analysts after 1 or 2 seasons. And he said, look, he knows he has to step it up. It's a big step, but he feels ready. And I feel like he's been proving that, Jesse, not only with the cardio, but with his effort, his heads up plays. Now, he was a bit nauseated. He had to throw up at the end of the game. We're not sure if that's because of a hit. We're not sure if that's because he did get winded at the very end. We hope he's okay. But yeah, I mean, I honestly, amidst all the hate that I'm seeing, I'm surprised by it, because I really thought he had a solid game.
And I appreciate you speaking your mind on this. And Martin St. Louis kind of felt the same way in a lot of ways. He was saying that he felt like Juraj Slafkovsky was using his speed and his size, which obviously for him, those are his 2 strongest main attributes. With somebody that big, skating that fast, he is absolutely going to intimidate players in just the same way that Josh Anderson does, just the way that he did to the Leafs a couple years back when we played them in the playoff series. When you got that much size and that much speed, you're going to put defenders on their heels. So I thought that was really exciting to see. And we've seen him, it's been a progression of kind of getting the rust off. And like you said, just getting better and better. And Martin St. Louis went on to say that he really liked him in the second and third period, especially. He got stronger as the game went on and got more touches. And in my opinion, Josh, I feel like that's kind of emblematic of how this season will go. I feel like Juraj Slafkovsky is just going to get better and better as the season goes on. As Juraj has said all along, he knows how to play hockey. He has no doubts in his abilities. It's really just gaining that experience, as we've seen with past, first overall picks, Jack Hughes, as we were just speaking about. As he gains this experience with the skill that he has, that's when I think we're really going to see the development of a very solid hockey player of which we're going to be very happy to have.
Yeah, for sure. And I think another thing, I mean, I don't know if I want to say a lot of people are missing this, but it sure seems like it sometimes. Like, first of all, NHL prospects usually don't break into the NHL unless they're like really starting. Now, first overall picks may be a bit of a separate case, but still until they're like 20, 21, right? That's when you really start to see them produce. Big guys, Juraj Slafkovsky size at forward, that even takes a little bit longer. But Juraj, at his size, again, we've had these stats. He's the only guy, like, in recent NHL history, at his size, at his age, that has even been playing in the NHL, let alone putting up some decent points. So he will only learn, he will only get better from here, and it's just a matter of being patient. But the final thing, we're going to end this video on a bit of Reinbacher talk because, quite frankly, I thought he was ridiculously good yesterday. And while he did look nervous to start, as Marc Dumont outlined in his great post-game article, go check it out if you haven't yet, he's an 18-year-old defenseman. He had a primary assist on Josh Anderson's goal. The puck bounced a couple times before it got to him, but it doesn't matter because he got the point. But as the game went on, Jesse, I thought that David Reinbacher really exuded some veteran energy. And I saw other fans of the Devils, fans of the Senators, fans of the Leafs who were tuning into this game to watch this 5th overall pick David Reinbacher play. I saw some Senators fans say they got Jake Sanderson vibes. I saw lots of people saying, like, this guy looks like a legitimate veteran. He was 18 years old and had a crazy amount of control on the game. And for a guy his age, he looked like he didn't even need to adjust to the North American ice either. I mean, is it crazy to say that if the Habs didn't plan to send him back to Europe, which I think they are sending him back, but I truly think that just based on his training camp and preseason alone so far, he would easily make the roster.
I think this is some amazing takeaways from yourself, Josh. And like you said, kind of like a Cayden Guhle in terms of being so comfortable, but with the higher ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly it. Just somebody so comfortable out on the ice. I think it's one of the best ways to really define his play so far. What I like from his first point, in his NHL career, if you want to call it that, for the preseason, was when he got an amazing pass from Alex Newhook.
Yeah.
But what I like about this is he called for that pass. He, with his stick, and then he activated into the O zone to receive that pass, taking the puck down low, and then finding Josh Anderson right where we like to see him, in front of the net with a very nice cross, ice pass. So this is the type of play that's going to really endear you to Habs management, to coaches, as well as fans like us. It's really showing that intelligence, but also he's showing that he's not scared of the moment. He's not afraid to kind of take those chances and not be intimidated by the how big of a moment it is, and really make a play. So I think that was just amazing to see.
Yeah, and again, like, he made very few lapses. I mean, like, there's still going to be some growing pains. You're 18 years old, and when you're playing against a Devils team, I know this Devils team is split, but they still have some solid full-time NHLers. And I mean, Jack Hughes was on the ice. But again, to look as comfortable as he did, I mean, we'd always talk about Juraj having to adjust to the North American ice. It doesn't seem like too much of a problem for Reinbacher yet. I think that another year in Europe, based on what I've seen from him now, like, he didn't look out of place on the NHL ice at all. In fact, he looked like one of the better defensemen on the ice last night. And knowing that and just seeing that, sort of getting that confirmation, makes me feel a lot better about sending him back to Europe so he can get that first pairing time, that power play time, to even work on his game even more.
Yeah, I think it's, I'm definitely a big fan of kind of taking our time. We're in that rebuild right now. Of course, every situation is different. It's kind of comparing apples to oranges with Slafkovsky and Reinbacher in a lot of ways. I really trust our management in many ways. They seem pretty set on sending him back to Europe. And honestly, I think it's great. Let's take our time with this. But when he comes back, he's going to be phenomenal. And I just can't wait to just keep tracking his play over in Europe and how he's doing.
So excited. He's got such a high ceiling. So much fun to finally see him on the ice, especially on the first pairing. And reminder, just a quick thing before this video ends, he was paired with Kaiden Guhle yesterday, and boy, did the metrics say that he was a lot better than Kaiden Guhle. Now, does that mean anything? No, not necessarily, but why is this not going? Necessarily mean anything. However, it's a crazy stat nonetheless, and hey, we hope it continues. But that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers, and we really appreciate the support. I'm Josh Gosse, for my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.